Hello everyone and welcome to episode 6 of the From Surviving to Thriving video interview series, stories of real people overcoming real adversity. And today I have with me Chantal Vanderhaegen, who I'll leave it to you, Chantal, to introduce yourself because no one can do it quite like you can.
Thank you, Carly. Thank you for having me here, and hello to everyone too. It's always such a pleasure when someone is interested in hearing your story, because often as women, I think we believe we don't actually have a story to tell. It's always someone else who has a story, never ourselves, that we're not interesting enough, we're not important enough, we don't deserve enough. So I felt very touched when Carly sort of said, yes, I'd love to hear your story. So I feel it's very, very important that we do start sharing as women in particular. You know, I'm in my 50s now, and in those days when I was brought up, my mother and my grandmother, we never talked. That was just never done. You never aired, particularly my English side of the family. You don't air your dirty laundry. So it was called in those days. Yeah. French side was a little bit more open in some ways, in that they at least showed their emotions. So I feel that, you know, I've hit this age where I'm in between that era where my mother and grandmother didn't talk, whereas younger generation are quite different. So I feel sometimes for me, and I never had my own children, I never got married. So I felt sometimes I was in that in-between, you know, because my father used to call me well, at the time I didn't appreciate, he called me a suffragette at the time. When I was younger, he was very French, very European, and I didn't behave the way I should have behaved as a woman, you know, married young and married, secretary, children. I wanted to go to uni. I didn't want to do any of that. You know, and I never understood at the time why he called me that, because as far as I'm concerned, why was I different to my brother who was younger than me? I'm no different as far as I'm concerned, but there is a difference. And I still think there is a difference between men and women. So I think we need to start talking. We need to start sharing. We need to start putting ourselves out there to create a lovely harmony again and a balance. You know, that we also connect to our male side as well as our feminine side, and we bring a balance into our lives. Yeah. So that's sort of where I'm coming from and why I appreciate what you're doing, because everyone will be able to bring something different to these interviews for you to be able to go, oh, I relate to that, or, you know, I'm not sure about that, or it gives you something to think about.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, 6 episodes in, I'm definitely finding that I relate to every single person in some way and resonate with part of their story. So it's been really cool to do this interview series.
I can imagine it would have been. It must be a privilege for you too, because you do get to hear all sorts of things. And I think, as you said, we all resonate to some extent or other. So even if our stories are different or our backgrounds are different, there'll still be somehow a common thread in amongst it all. We've all had something happen to us, adversity, not one thing, numerous things. And it's also knowing you're not alone. And it's also learning, well, how did you cope with that? These are the strategies I used. What did you use? And then it gives you other ideas, because sometimes you just don't even know it's out there, or you don't know how to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And I often find as well that sometimes people will say, well, you need to look into your limiting beliefs, or you need to clear the past and close the door on your past. How do you do that? So Chantal, tell us about some of the adversity that you've gone through in your life that you'd like to share with the audience today.
Okay, well, I mean, like with anyone, I think we have lots of experiences, but I think I had a very difficult childhood. It was full of violence and anger. So that set me on a path that also has made me the person I am today. And it was very traumatic. We lived abroad in different countries. So not only was I not safe at home, but I wasn't safe in the different countries because we didn't speak the languages. So that was one of the things we can talk about. But the main thing was, I think, where it really traumatized me was then the unexpected death of my father nearly 17 years ago. And that threw me completely, because I had, as a young woman or child, always wanted him dead, because he was unfortunately the perpetrator in the family. So when he did die unexpectedly, that really, really threw me, because we hadn't resolved anything. We'd only just perhaps starting to resolve things 6 months before he died, because he lived abroad still. I'd come back to Australia to live. So I hadn't really seen him much for 16 years, but I had been doing a lot of therapy on myself, but I feared him. But it was like something, if you're going to talk about spirit and energy, when we look back the 6 months beforehand, when we saw him, it was like he was preparing all of us for this death. It was like he sort of knew it, even though it was, as I said, unexpected. So, of course, when he died, it threw me into absolute chaos. It threw me, I had to go and get a lot of intense therapy, because a lot of anger came up, resentment, trauma, who he had been, could have been, all those things came to the fore. Not only that, he took me into the spirit world in additions, which even though I'd been doing Reiki for a while already by then, This was a whole new experience for me. And I didn't want to come back because he took me into this most amazing womb-like space that was full of love, and, you know, and because he transitioned into that spirit of pure love. And I didn't get it because I had thought, well, why couldn't he give that to me in life? He could give it to me in death. So that sort of set a path off. And then only just recently, last year, I went through another episode of PTSD, and that was then from a car accident. So I'll come back to that. But when I went back to the psychologist, because even though I've been doing meditation, tapping, Reiki, I actually needed a lot more than that at this point, because I didn't understand what was happening to me. I couldn't understand what had triggered it. I also had menopause. I didn't understand you could have all sorts of menopausal emotions, you know, so suddenly my world was upside down. I was angry with everyone, angry with life, myself. Don't talk to me, otherwise you might get your head bitten off. So when I did finally go back to the psychologist, we actually realized that my father's death had actually triggered PTSD, and I'd been in and out of it to some extent for 17 years.
Wow.
That I wasn't aware of. You know, obviously when the car accident happened just over 8 years ago now, that was 9 years after Dad's death. Yes, that was obvious. You know, I'd had an accident. Then for various reasons I stopped seeing her for a while because I seemed to be better anyhow, and so I went on. So all I can say to you, if you've got any sense of not feeling right with yourself, do seek help of some sort, because we're brought up to be independent. I don't need help. It feels weak, you know, and also because I'm a practitioner like you, I should have it all together.
Yeah, which we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, don't we, to have it all together as practitioners. Yeah.
We do, very much so, you know. And here I am coming from the heart. So like doing similar work to you, I'm coming from the heart. I'm listening that there I am, feeling angry as, bawling my eyes out, snapping at anyone who came near me, because I didn't like myself. And I found it really hard to actually acknowledge that to myself, because as I mentioned, there was no trigger, no obvious trigger for that. But it had to come back. I hadn't actually dealt with it fully in my life.
Yeah, okay. So talk to me about some of the ways in which that PTSD manifested in your life. What was showing up for you?
Well, what was showing up was very much a lack of confidence, very much a listlessness, very much life, you know, the sky wasn't blue, it was grey, depression. From the accident, obviously deep pain. I had a lot of pain, violent headaches for quite a few years, and that triggered off all sorts of things like not chronic fatigue, but fibromyalgia. Then I got dengue fever. So it just seemed to be for a while there, I couldn't get my life together at all. And I was frightened, to be honest. I was very, very frightened. So I put on this big front. So I'd be sitting here talking to you, you know, coming across really well, and then hard I'd be off the phone, I'd either be vomiting or a violent headache or bawling my eyes out. So I'd created this huge gap between the side I was putting on for everyone, what was happening, then of course, bang, I went straight in the middle again.
So what kind of tools did you use to overcome that then? And is PTSD something that is still a challenge for you, or would you say that you've overcome it?
Well, I think from what I understand and what I've learned, not only from the psychologist, but I wanted to read on it because that's also partly who I am. You always have PTSD to some degree or others, how you manage it. So once it starts, it can trigger. So what I'm trusting now is that I'll be able to manage it. That we've just gone through a big crisis with my partner's health over the last 9 weeks. He got an unexpected diagnosis that was needing to face his mortality. Now, once upon a time, that could have triggered me, and it didn't. So I'm sitting here going, I'm very proud of myself because I was able to tap into my strength that I've gained, all the support that I had got from the psychologist, understanding PTSD. And of course, what I use is meditation, tapping, Reiki, chakra work, crystals. So I have both sides. I have the professional side, medical side, plus I also have this other side. And so even though we were in trauma, the two of us, because we've already eating well, exercising, we both meditate, even though there was intense fear and anxiety and real stress, we were able to still create this beautiful bubble around us to support ourselves.
Lovely. And I do think that combination of, you know, the medical industry when you really need it, combined with holistic therapies is, you know, that's the way forward, isn't it? Chuck everything at it when there's a problem.
Look, and I agree with you completely, because like with this case in particular, we needed a medical profession. You had to have 2 major surgeries here. We had no choice, but we had very good people. You know, good surgeons, good anaesthetists, all that. So we worked with that. And then he comes home and I work with the Reiki. Yeah. We work with the meditation together. So yes, we bring the two, because you've got to be sensible. You know, I think sometimes people can go too much one way or the other.
Yeah,
I believe it's bringing the whole thing. It's, again, holistic.
yes, yeah, love that. So
Mm.
what would you say has been your darkest moment over the course of your life, I suppose? What was your darkest moment so far?
I think, interestingly enough, my darkest moment when I was 17, we'd moved from Switzerland, where I'd learnt to have my life there. We'd been there 7 years and I spoke the language. I lost a lot of English. And we moved to England, where I was still foreign, and my father was particularly violent. And I'd gone to a boarding school, which I should never have gone to. I was completely, looking back now, I think that set me off on a deep, deep depression. And I didn't feel safe there, didn't feel safe home. So I had all those issues, but I didn't actually get it. Then after that year, we brought me home to go to a good local school, but my brother wasn't there. So my mother and I copped my father's sort of undivided attention, so to speak. So if I look at those 2 years, they were really, really my darkest time. I didn't get who I was. I didn't have all these tools. I didn't appreciate that.
And so when you did learn all these tools, is that a period of your life where you feel like you had to go back to and heal?
Yes, absolutely. I think it is. I think, like with anything, you need to go back. It's to acknowledge what's happened to you. Because I think when we stand, and it's very frightening looking at yourself. It's very frightening to honor these things. It took me a long time to actually be able to say what had happened in our family life, because there was guilt, there was embarrassment, there was shame. You don't talk about it. Did it really happen? Was it that bad? And I felt disloyal.
Did I make half of it up in my head? Yeah.
Exactly right. So I've just gone off track. What was the question again? Sorry.
Looking at that dark moment in your life, or that dark period in your life, when you learned all these healing tools, about going back there to explore the healing of that dark time to help you move forward.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, that's what I was saying. That's right. Thank you for that. Yes, it is very, very important to go back. But I think what I've had to learn over the years, you make the person or the situation accountable, and stop blaming. Because of course, and then I also used the excuse because my father had been, or because there'd been alcohol. So I made a lot of excuses in my life, not to blame, but to sort of perhaps make sense of what was going through. Because I've always been responsible, I can look after myself, but it was easy to keep going back to that and to keep playing it over and over and again in my mind. And in the end, it was like, I've got to now let it go. It happened. It is there. It'll always be part of my life. Can still be triggered, like the car accident triggered it. This with my partner didn't fully trigger it, but it brought back a few things. It brought back some fears and things like that. So yes, you do need to go back. I believe you need to go back, deal with it, heal it, leave it, move on.
Yeah. Okay. And so when you go through challenging times in your life, as you have done recently, what are your go-to tools? You've mentioned Reiki and meditation. Are there any other go-to tools that you have that you kind of whip out of your toolbox when you're not feeling so good?
Yes, I had tapping, I had the essential oils, I had the crystals, chakras. I'm still learning about those. And the other thing is diet. Always eat, not diet, I don't like that. Sorry, I should say healthy food, because we've always eaten well. Now, I did gain a little bit of weight over the last couple of months because I didn't not eat well, but I ate more because I just needed to do that. Keep my exercise up. So what I'm now, in my work, I'm saying to people, it's not about self-care, it's also about life care. It's about caring for your whole life and getting the tools into your toolbox while you're still going all right, because we always say we're too busy to do this, to that. Thank goodness my partner and I had those things there that we didn't have to change our lifestyle much.
Yeah.
And
just
the surgeons,
more of the good stuff, don't you?
Exactly right. And we're so thankful we didn't have to do anything different other than just deal with what was going on. And the surgeons and all the doctors said it was amazing because they didn't have to teach us anything.
Yeah.
We don't have to go away and change major lifestyles. So I implore all of you who are listening, I'm sure you do, implore is a very big word, I know, start doing things for yourself now, because then it becomes a habit.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah. So in what ways has the adversity that you've gone through in your life shaped you into the person that you are today?
I think what it's done, it's made me a lot more aware of, I was always aware of other people because that's what we're very good at. So my work had always been, I never cared for myself enough and I was always there for everyone else. And I think what it's done, it's made me a lot more balanced person, because now I'm aware of who I am as a person. I know I'm empathic. I know I'm kind and generous. You know, I understand that I have this amazing gift that I can give people. And that takes quite a bit for me to say, because a lot of us feel that's ego. Mm-hmm. So I feel it's created this person of empathy. So you might come to me and have had a different experience. I may not understand that, but I can sit there with you in acceptance and support you through it, having some understanding of what that's like.
Yeah, that's great. So would you change anything in your past?
Yes, there are some things I would like to change. You know, of course, one thing, I've never had children. So, and that was just obviously not meant to be this life. So I have a few things in my life, yes, but you know, again, you can't hang on to regret. You can't hold on to that. It's a matter of doing what I can for today.
Yeah, I love that. So what top tips would you share with our audience that are watching today?
Oh, that's a good question. I hadn't sort of quite got that far. All I can say is really start caring for yourself. That's my biggest thing. And it's about letting go and overcoming and stopping the fact that you can't do that. You haven't got the time. You need to be there for everyone else. No. Because I don't know what made me think before we were going into this, and I don't practice religion, but you know how there's one of the commandments, treat your neighbor as you would yourself, love your neighbor like you love yourself.
Yeah.
And I never got that.
Treat people like you'd like to be treated, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I never got that, because if I didn't love myself, how could I be loving them, you know? So basically it is, if you're going to treat other people well, why don't you start treating yourself well? Basically love yourself. Yeah,
so true. And I think that's definitely a lesson that I had to learn. You know, I'm like you know, in helping professions, and we tend to have a habit of over giving to everyone else and not giving enough to ourselves. So that process of self-love is definitely a journey for us to learn, isn't it?
It sure is. And I think a lot of us need to do that. And I say need because it does become vital to your life. I mean, now that I am doing this more for myself, gosh, my life has changed so much. There's so much joy in there, happiness and love. And I can ask, you know, we were able to ask people the last couple of months, can you give us help? I accepted it. I received. We had so many candles lit. My heart was so full. It still is full.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, that's lovely. And I think that people really struggle to know, well, what is self-love? How can you love yourself? How can you demonstrate that? What practical things can you do? And I kind of always say to my clients, well, it's about doing things that really nourish you, whatever that might be for you as an individual. Do something every day, at least one thing that you love to do for you. Have a bath, paint your nails, go to the beach, whatever it might be, read a good book. So what kind of tips and suggestions would you have there, Chantal?
Well, actually, I was just going to say what you're saying too, because what I had to learn when someone said that to me when I was in my 20s, you know, I was going through this program and it said, oh, you know, what did it say? Go and get yourself an ice cream. Like, that was the idea. I remember thinking, well, I wouldn't even know what ice cream I'd want.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to work out, number one, it wasn't just about an ice cream, of course, but in those 20s, I didn't get that. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, for me, was when I started to still my mind, so not only through Reiki, but the meditation, when you can finally just still your mind and start connecting to yourself, because initially you do have a blank and you think, oh my God, I don't know. You know how you have those days where you finally get your day off, then you don't know what to do with it?
Yeah.
So now I just, like you, started saying, what did I want? What was important for me? So you go and get a nice chocolate or a hot chocolate or, go to the beach, exactly what you're talking about. But it was when I stilled my mind to get to know who am I and what did I actually want.
To look
and to say that I actually deserved to have that.
Yes, yeah. Which is the main reason why we don't give ourselves any love, isn't it? If we think that we're not worthy of it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And that's what's so sad. We don't understand that we're actually missing out, not only from what others can actually give us, but what we can give ourselves. And that's been my biggest thing, and this is why I'm so passionate now. And I know this word's used a lot, like you, I just want women, I want us to actually learn to love ourselves and therefore support ourselves in these spaces.
Yeah. When we fill up our own cup, we've got much more to give other people anyway, don't we? So it's actually the opposite of a selfish thing.
That's exactly right. And this is what we don't get. So we've just got to swap that all around, as you said, that mindset.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So how does our audience connect with you then, Chantal?
Well, if you'd love to connect with me, I have a website, www.unfoldyourfreedom.com.au. I also have a Facebook page and Instagram page. So if you'd love to just follow or go into my database to get, weekly meditations or join my Mindful Women's group, all that is on Facebook. Love to see you there and connect with you. And let's just start sharing this journey, because I can support you, you can support someone else, they can support someone, and then that's that lovely rippling effect.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Chantal, for being on the call with me today. I'm sure our audience has got a lot of gold nuggets from that conversation. So thank you so much for opening up with me today. And guys, I will see you on the next one, which is episode 7. Onto episode 7 already. That's pretty cool. I hope you got a lot out for today, and I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks, Chantal.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you so much for joining me today for my video interview series From Surviving to Thriving, stories of real people overcoming real adversity. If you're currently going through a situation that you're struggling to cope with right now, some kind of change or trauma in your life, maybe that's happened in your past and you're struggling to deal with, then I'm here for you, either via one-on-one coaching or through my online coaching program From Surviving to Thriving, which I put together based on my own experiences of overcoming adversity and with the clients that I have worked with, helping them through their tough times. This is a combination of tools, quick and easy tools that will help you to transform your life, help you shift out of that negative mindset and into neutralizing those negative emotions so that you can cope with what's going on and create a better life for yourself. Head on over to my website, coachcarly.com, where you'll find all the information you'll need. And if you want to get in touch, feel free to do so via the contact page on my website. I look forward to hearing from you soon.